Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 198. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed comic creator of Meat Machine, Simr Sandhu. Simr,
Hello,
how you
greetings.
doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah,
Doing good. I'm excited to
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about my story.
Because before we went live, we were just talking. So Simr, you're in the UAE, and right now it is 3 o'clock in the morning for you. Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, this just goes to show like how much of a dedicated comic creator you are that you're willing to lose sleep over to talk about your debut comic of Meat Machine. So congratulations on getting Meat Machine your issue 1 published. That's awesome. Do you want to give little people a background on what Meat Machine is and what they can expect from reading the book?
So, Meat Machine is basically like an action horror. Well, this part doesn't have a lot of actions, but it's more mysterious and
Okay.
it has a hip hop kind of vibe to it. Like the main characters are these hip hop artists, and they're out of their element, kind of, and they are yeah, it's more of an introductory issue, more of a slow burn kind of thing. But if you're into horror and rap or rap, then yeah, this is the book for you.
So, talk to us a bit about what your inspiration was behind Meat Machine.
Um, um, I always wanted to do horror. I do like horror. And then I thought the rap making the main characters rappers, that would be like a good plot kind of point. I don't know. I
Mm,
just like rap as well. The main character, he faces a lot of pressure, like from his fans, from the studios. It
mm,
seems like like he used to be successful, but now he's kind of fallen off, and people don't like his new stuff that he's getting. So, and he feels like people only like him for his fame. So that was a bit of a
right.
yeah.
And where does the story take place? Is it in a fictional city, or is there a city that it's specific?
It takes place actually in like rural Arkansas, some like very rural area that I guess made
Mm,
up. Yeah.
okay. Oh, and so talk to us a bit about how you we came up with it. Did you have a character in mind when you wrote this, or did you have a world or a background that you had in mind of like the horror aspect of it, or is this or you just had a story you wanted to tell and you kind of created a world and a character around it?
I was actually thinking of I wanted a cult. You can see like this main cult guy on the cover with this
Mm,
giant hand. I wanted like I find cults kind of fascinating, and I wanted them to be some sort of supernatural element. So I came up with this. I don't want to spoil too much, but I did come up with a monster idea. And then afterwards, I was like, "Oh, this is cool, and let's come up with a story and some characters and stuff like that."
mm.
So I did come up with the antagonist first.
Oh, okay, all right. And so talk to us a bit about how you your your style of right. Did you draw this out as you were writing it, or did you write out the entire script first and then draw it out? How did this work? Because you are the writer and the illustrator and the artist for this.
Oh yeah. So you see, this is issue one. There's gonna be four issues in total.
Okay.
And I actually wrote all four issues, and I had an editor look at them, and then I went and I redid them before I even started drawing it. So I wanted to make sure I had all the story down before I started uh, drawing it and making any changes, stuff like that.
Okay. So talk to us a bit about how your style is. Are you a pencil on pencil on paper person? Are you all digital? How do you come up with the images?
Um, yeah, I drew this one all traditionally. Um, Well, most of it. I did the lettering and the spot blacks, like the very black parts. I did that in Photoshop
Okay.
because I didn't want to waste too much ink, you know. And this cover, I actually had so I had two very wonderful people help me on this cover. I drew this truck and this guy himself, but the layouts and the logo actually, yeah. The design. So this is my art, but the design is done by Chance and Lori, the editor and the designer who helped me, and they're both, yeah, they're both. I think it turned out amazing.
Yeah, it
So
looks really
kudos
cool.
to them, yeah.
Now, as you mentioned about your editor, at what point do you have the editor involved? Because you are the artist and the writer. Where does the editor fit into that process?
So I actually had two editors. Um, was it two or three? I don't know. 'Cause I had one with the script who helped me with the entire script, and then I had another like kind of helped me with the when I finished the art and they just and the lettering, and they said, oh, you know, they had some remarks about the art and the lettering, and I went in and did those. Yeah,
Hmm.
very helpful overall.
And so, for those that are looking at making their own comics, what advice would you give them on how important an editor is before you actually start drawing your pictures?
Oh, quite in this there. I say quite important, but the quality of the editor also very much helps. But it is like you know, good editors they won't do it for free. Uh,
Hmm.
so I guess my advice would be if you're gonna self-publish, then and you can't afford it, then maybe I'm not an expert on this really. I was lucky enough to get editors working at ASAP. You know.
Okay. Um, so that's a good point though. How did you get in contact with ASAP? How did that work?
Oh, so I was looking at I try to get into the comics community on Twitter mainly, and I I followed people. I looked at new indie publishers and new creators, and I thought, you know, I could pitch to some of them. I actually pitched quite a lot. But cold pitching is very difficult. ASAP, I was blessed enough. They gave me a chance. They said they liked my work, and I was like over the moon when it happened because I've been through a lot of so many rejections at the time. Uh, and I'm really grateful they gave me this opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Now, for those maybe some writers and artists out there who said, so what should I put together? Because you said they liked your work. What did you show to the editors at ASAP Imagination that it said? Was it a couple pieces of artwork, or was it a half of a script, or how did that work?
This was a long time ago, so I have to jog my memory. It was artwork. Definitely, editors or publishers or agents, they want to see the artwork. They want to see art samples, at least a few pages, and they want to see a synopsis, one page synopsis generally. But I would actually recommend if you're quite new to comics, um, to not spend so much time pitching and to spend more time making just making comics because probably not as good as you think you are. Like I got lucky, but I spent like so much time pitching. I could have just spent it uh, improving my craft. So
Hmm,
generally, yeah, because like if you get good enough, people they will notice you. You won't have to pitch.
right.
Um, at least I'm not that level yet, but yeah.
So how did that? So you sent them a sample, and they said yes, we like your work. And from there, how did that connection happen? Were you then on a contract where they say you need to produce this or that within a certain time period? How did that next step go for those that are looking at wanting to work with a publisher? What had just to give them that background on how that happened?
Oh, okay. So first of all, you generally you need to have a plan. I didn't really have a plan, but it's definitely way easier if you have a plan. If you get accepted, they will. So they actually, I got the contract when I finished doing all the art in the beginning. I only pitched them a few pages. So they said, we'll give you the contract when you finish doing all the art and you finish this book and it's ready to be edited and whatnot. But uh, so at first they asked me to complete the script. They asked for the completed script, and I was like, oh, I don't even have the completed script yet. So I had to quickly. I tried to write it as fast as possible, and they liked the script. They had an editor look at it, but they liked the script, so they also like my art samples. Um, so yeah, that's basically it.
Mm, right. And so when that happened, when they gave you the script, did you say, I want to illustrate my own book? Or did they say, hey, you have art as well. Do you want to actually be the artist for your own title as well? Or how did that work?
Yeah, they asked me that, but the art samples I provided, like I did do myself. Um, so yeah, and I wanted to do this art myself. It's quite hard for writers who are not doing the art themselves because I think almost all indie publishers, if even if you do sign a contract, they will not pay you up front, and you have to front the cost for the artist.
Hmm.
That's why you see a lot of books on Kickstarter, like even books that are going to be published, you see them on Kickstarter, on Zoop now, Indiegogo, like because they need to pay for the artist. So um, if you're a writer, if you and you want to write comic books, I would I think the most cost effective and the most efficient way would be to learn how to draw as well. But that's a whole another like mountain to climb. I still find drawing very difficult
Hmm.
sometimes.
Now, were you an artist first and then a writer, or were you a writer and then learned how to illustrate?
Mm, that's a tough one.
Hmm.
I did kind of grew up doing both. I always like writing and I always like drawing. It's like a chicken and the egg kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, as you said, you have a few stories. How long is a Meat Machine gonna? Is it? You said it's 4 issues. Is it going to be larger after that, or are you just looking at it as like a 4 issue series?
Oh yeah, it's a 4 issue miniseries from start to finish. There's like the end will be the very end. So it's 4 issues and it's 82 pages over 4 issues.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, and so when you decided to put this together, so you already wrote out the entire script then?
Yeah. Before well, actually no, that's not. I drew uh a few pages before I finished the script. Just to submit to ASAP and some other publishers, but yeah, after that, after I got accepted, I finished the script before I worked on any other pages.
Hmm. And how long did it take you to write down the entire script from start to finish then?
It actually it depends. It really depends. Sometimes I can write very. I think I'm quite a fast writer actually.
Hmm.
But I definitely like. I don't think I still have a lot to learn when it comes to writing. I'm yeah.
Yeah. No, so but I'm also kind of curious as well, is that you kind of had the concept of this story um uh based off of a villain, or like, looking at cults in that perspective. So when you started writing, you had the idea in your head, and then as you started writing the script out, did the story change at all when you got to page 82, or did it kind of evolve on its own, or did you already knew what the ending was going to be right from the beginning?
Oh, I knew I didn't oh crap, trying to remember if I had an outline. I knew the story. It's not that long. Like I've had longer ones, and it's definitely more confusing. I need an outline. I need to write story beats and stuff like that. But for this one, I didn't. But actually, I was trying to make it under 60 pages. To be honest, I thought it would be under 60 pages.
Okay.
Uh, and then it turned out I got to the end, and the first draft was 73, so like 73 comic pages, and I showed it to a couple of my friends, and they said the ending is very anticlimactic. So I'm like they said like the finale should be longer, so I was like, oh man, I have to make it even longer. So I made it. Wrote all the way to 82 pages of it. Yeah, but I agree it's better now.
And so what were some of the things that, as you said, they said it was anticlimactic? Did you have to adjust any of the characters at all, or do you had to do a complete rewrite? How did that work for you?
I just had to extend the kind of the finale, I guess, for just an extra 9 pages because it's hard to explain without spoiling it, but it just had to be long, a bit longer, a bit more substance to it. That makes sense.
Okay, so because you have your main characters, which are there. It's Dipper and Eight Ball, correct?
Yeah, they're both rappers. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, where did you come up with the names of your characters as well?
Um. So I just came up with the. I thought Dipper, like as in Little Dipper. You know, rappers they always do like Lil Nas or something like that. So I was like Little
Right.
Dipper, like the constellation. I thought it'd be funny if I just named him Little Dipper or Dipper for short. And then Eight Ball. I'm not sure how family friendly this podcast is.
Oh, it's
Um,
not very it's family friendly. Yeah. So.
okay, I'll skip over that. But there's a meaning to that one as well. Okay.
Oh, okay. uh, so so talk to us a bit about how you get into. So you mentioned about how you put the script together. You mentioned the artwork, and you kind of use Photoshop and pieces and stuff. What would be your advice for comic creators who that might have an easier learning curve as compared to some other pieces? Like, maybe, is it lettering, or is it formatting, or is there other aspects of making a comic that you would suggest to comic creators that you could save money by learning this skill or this skill?
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, so if you can do it all, obviously that saves the most money.
Right.
Um, but art, yeah, line art especially is very difficult, like to learn for some people. Even I find it very difficult sometimes. Like I'm kind of going through a phase where I don't really like my art. I know a lot of artists they go through phases like that. So yeah, art is very challenging. Can be very
Hmm.
challenging. But if you can learn, if you really can't do line art, penciling, inking, whatever, you can do try coloring or lettering. A lo- and that can save some money, and you might even enjoy it. You know. So,
Hmm.
but lettering is I'm also not a pro letterer. I'm I I did lettering myself in this book, but some people think lettering is very easy. It's like you just put the letters there, you just type the letters there, whatever. But it's there's actually a lot of thought and a lot of skill that goes into that.
Hmm.
So
So
yeah.
so explain that a little bit. Like, so you taught yourself lettering. What were some of the things that you were surprised about that is important for um, being able to be a good letterer?
The font choice is very important.
Hmm.
For this comic, I actually looking back on it, I could have chose a different font. I think mine is a bit generic. Like for the speech bubbles and whatnot. And but I did like the other font that I have, like on the title page. I have it for the sound effects as well. It's called "Stake Through the Heart." it's
Okay.
it's very grisly and very kind of spooky. Yeah, it's that
The one
one.
that says meat machine. That
Yeah.
right there. Yeah. And so yeah, so you mentioned like how important the font is as compared to the lettering. Uh and did so you were able to do everything. You were able to do the layouts, the lettering, and what about the coloring? Is there because we see the cover itself is black and white. Is there color inside the comic?
Oh yeah, no, it's fully black and white. I because at the time I didn't know how to do coloring. But I know like some the basics now, and I actually very much enjoy coloring. So if I had to do it again, I might have added color. But I think the black and white is still a nice aesthetic to
Mm.
have.
And so because this is kind of a as a horror comic, an indie horror comic.
Mhm.
Now, is horror a genre that you've always kind of gravitated towards?
Um, I do like horror. The thing is, I haven't seen a lot of horror movies or read horror comics. Because I find them kind of a chicken. I find them very scary, and I can't. Sometimes I just can't handle it. My favorite genre by far is actually crime. Um, that's pretty much all my work nowadays. I mean, besides Meat Machine, of course.
Right,
I love the crime genre the most. It's very interesting to me.
right. And so what aspect of that you find interesting with the crime genre?
I find it very interesting how seemingly normal people can break the law. They can do things that are illegal or are immoral, and how
Mm,
they kind of justify it to themselves. Like
right,
they either like I'm doing this for money, I'm doing this for my kids, or I'm doing this because I for revenge, or I'm doing this because uh, you know
right.
something like that. I find
That's,
those reasons very
and
interesting.
do you see kind of a parallel to that with your when you're writing Meat Machine, where you're dealing with cultists who are actually committing some crimes as well? Do you see this as kind of a similar in the sense of what your other passions are of your other genres?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. I could see the parallels. And actually, the cult and the so-called monster is actually like I try to make it a metaphor for the kind of inner turmoil that this main character Dipper feels. It's supposed to represent trauma, like at its core. Like good horror represents some sort of trauma that humans experience in
Mm,
some way or another.
right.
Uh, yeah.
And so, do you looking at now that you've kind of been established now with ASAP Imagination, and so let's fast forward a bit to issue 4 is done, published. People can buy all 4 issues. What is your? Do you have another story that's percolating in your head?
Yeah, I mean, when I get to issue 4, that'll be like yes. But so 3 more to go. But yeah, I have a lot of stories. I actually go through a lot now. Even in the like since the beginning of Me Machine, I went through stories. I got excited about them, then I've gotten bored about them. Kind of started them at the same time, and then I abandoned them. Yeah, I have a big problem with getting bored with ideas. I just
So what would be your recommendation for comic creators who are in a similar boat in the sense that like they start on a project, then they kind of start on a different project, and then start on a different project? What advice would you give them to say how to stay the course and finish at least one project?
I watched a video on this the other day about finishing projects, and it was kind of helpful. A few things I learned. Finishing is just finishing a project is just another skill that you have to learn at some point.
Mm.
Um, and you can try to uh, imagine yourself like with the finished project, how happy you'll be, how accomplished you'll feel. Try to visualize that if it ever becomes like a slog. Um, and also like something that I read and I think I try to apply it now is that for people like me who get very obsessed about projects, there's often a honeymoon period. They call it a honeymoon period when you get this new idea and you're so inspired and it's so amazing and you're so like motivated to work on it. Uh, it lasts doesn't last long, and generally the honeymoon period can be very dangerous because you might have told all your friends about it, all your family about it, all you might be posting all over social media, you might be talking about it all the time, and then people are like, "Hey, what happened to that project?" And you're like, "Oh, I got bored of it now." So if you have ideas like that, you can write it. Probably want to write them down, save them for later when the honeymoon period wears off, and see if you still like them. Come back to them later.
Right, right. Yeah. That's good advice. Is just to like keep an eye on that, keep an eye on your that goal, and I like the idea what you just said there that it's finishing projects as a skill that takes time to nurture and learn. So that's a good point. And so, how long does it take you to? So when will issue two come out?
Mm, that's gonna. I want to say. Hmm, it's definitely not gonna be out this year. Maybe next year.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna start college again soon. Um, so ideally, I want to get it done. I want to get the first draft done by before the end of the year. That's what I'm hoping for. But it takes a while for editing to put the book together, to design, do all the designing and
Mm,
the promotion and whatnot. It definitely is going to take much longer.
right. Right. And so but so what can people expect from issue number two as well? As you say, it's a slow burn. Does that the story pick up a lot in issue number two?
Oh yeah, definitely. Issue one, it left on this pretty wicked cliffhanger, if I
Mm-hmm.
do say so myself. Issue two definitely picks up, gets right into the action, very brutal action, and also ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah, it does. Okay, I was just trying to remember.
And so, are you looking at then probably coming out with like one issue every year, or once issue number two is out, you'll try to get maybe issue three out as well after that?
Yeah, I want to one issue every year is a bit um, it's a bit too slow.
Right.
I don't know though. I want to be realistic here.
From the feedback that you've received for those that have read Meat Machine issue number one, what were some of the surprises that you've heard that drew people to the story?
Oh, so I was just on a podcast and um, so the host read Meat Machine, and he said he really liked the hip hop vibe. In the beginning, I just have my main character like kind of freestyling, spitting some bars. I guess wrote down whatever. I'll just write this to show that he's a rapper. He's freestyling. But then the guy
Right.
said like, "Oh, this guy can really write some bars, sick bars, man." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." I wasn't really paying much attention to it. And he said another surprise was that so this place takes place in Arkansas, but the main characters are these two rappers from New York, and I just made it New York just for fun. I did live in New York for several months when I was at college there, but um, and I try to have them their lingo talk like rappers, and the guy said you captured their New York City kind of vibe perfectly, and I
Nice.
was surprised by that. I didn't even intend for that to happen, so that was another surprise. And yeah, Very surprising which parts people can like about your book.
Right.
That was a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
What were some of the things that you really liked about writing it that no one's really picked up on yet?
Um, there was a little, there was some jokes that I. Oh, actually, my brother did pick up on it when he read it. Um, no, he saw me draw this one part. He just glanced at a page and he said, "Dude, this is so funny." This one part where I have hate comments on this guy's reading, scrolling through hate comments that are saying, "Oh, your song's trash," and then it's like the lyrics are more shallow than a kiddie pool, stuff like that. I just like fun with that, and my brother's like, "That's so funny."
That's awesome. So how so talk to us a bit about this combination you've had with ASAP Imagination as well. Um, how did that work? You say so you signed a contract with them. How did that piece work as a publisher for your work?
So I signed a contract to get. Um, I'm not allowed to uh, do too many details because I also had to sign an NDA and
Okay.
whatnot. But I get actually I think it's better if I don't say too much.
Oh. So what would be the benefit? So looking at it from this perspective, what would be the benefits you would recommend for indie comic creator to sign on with a publisher like ASAP Imagination as compared to going completely by yourself?
Oh, there's a lot of benefits. First of all, the community is really it's great. Like
Mm,
the people that I work with, the other people that I've read some of the books on there's the Any One World, which is the kind of creator owned kind of um, part, not the main continuity. It's more of the
right.
creator owned stuff. Yeah, they got the website there, and I've read some of the books on here, and I'm like, these books are amazing. Like, kind of get imposter syndrome, um, like yeah, Dog Eaters. I've read Dog Eaters, and I've read this one Bob. Um, and I'm like, these books are so amazing. Like, I kind of like I get to be alongside them, in the catalog.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also we've interviewed a few of these folks already on the show. So yeah, and so how does that work? Is there a way that you all talk to each other at all, or how does that work?
I've actually never spoken to any of the creators. I've spoken to uh, Paul. I've spoken to Paul a few times.
Hmm.
I've spoken to Lori, the editorial consultant, and I've spoken to. We had these 5 and 5 videos. Um,
Right. And the more people are going to read this, the more they're going to pressure you to get issue 2 out and then issue 3 as well. So
yeah. Someone said they wanted an autograph copy, and I was just like, "Whoa, from me, really?"
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Simmer. And I'll tell you what, come back on the show when you got issue 2 coming out. That'd be so fun to talk more about the world you've created through Meat Machine.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, thank you. And so how did that work too? As you mentioned that you had, um, when you sit. Oh no, hang on. Let me timestamp this. All right, here we go. 6:15.